Good morning. How are you doing this morning? I'm starting 10 minutes late for a couple of reasons. First, my computer froze and I had to restart it, and Facebook tried to sign me on to an alternative Denise Dryden, which took me probably 4 or 5 minutes and about 18 different steps to get this channel back up and going. So, wow, like things are going on right now, right? Which makes sense because the title of this is are you feeling like you're failing? Is the world sort of giving you feedback at all times right now that you're not doing it right, that you're off, that you should be doing something, and that there's this sort of tension. And I've been working with the sevens. I've been working with the sevens for the last about 10 days. And sevens are an interesting number. And I have a lot to share with you about that. But seven is basically, yeah, boy, it's this mystical number, right? And we'll go through that, right? But what it means is that the 3D world isn't showing us what we want or what we expected or what we hoped for. It's like we're sitting and we're waiting and we're sitting and we're waiting, or we're rubbing our hands together, or we're stressing, or we're going looping in our head and saying, what if I have it wrong? What if I didn't do what I needed to do, right? So it is also the energy of waiting and patience and nurturing yourself while the invisible is working. So the analogy I've always used with the seven, and that came up through this Thoth deck, right? Which is the seven of earth, and this is the Zen tarot in this, which is patience, which is, you planted something in the ground, you made sure the soil was right, you did it the right time, you put the seeds in, and now you're waiting and you're looking over at someone else's garden's already got their starts going up, or other parts of the garden are going, and you're just looking at this dead, what appears to be dead soil, waiting. And you go through all of these thoughts like, oh man, I probably planted them wrong. What if I had a bad batch of seeds? You can identify with this, right? So these cups, they have all sorts of things. So on the physical earth, you're waiting for something that isn't showing up. In the mental component, you're starting to listen to all of these other voices that are distracting you from who you are, and you're kind of going into mental chaos, right? What I love is the way Osho, you don't know who you're talking to. You think you're talking to this person, you're talking to this one, and you don't even know who your real voice is, right? This one's kind of an interesting with Thoth, the Thoth deck. They call this valor, where the six of swords are all like hot and going, and they have this one ace of swords over the top. But within Osho, he's saying, man, you start doing things and putting things into action and trying to stress, carrying all of what might be going on, right? And then my last one, which I love, is the seven of cups, which happens to be my chiron. I know this one really well. This is my chiron representative, which is where there's overwhelm and too many choices, emotional bits of information is just melting and spilling all over. And within Osho, this is always the card that I use when I recognize that there's emotional overwhelm coming in, which is I don't even know who's talking. Am I hearing that person or hearing their intuition, their intuitive inner self? Am I talking to their guide? I don't even know who I'm talking to, right? So sevens are up right now. And I wrote all of this, and then this morning I had about half an hour waiting for this time to start. So I watched Elizabeth April, and she ended up talking about exactly what I have all over these notes. So I think it's really fun that we dovetailed this information. So based on our mental constructs of what we consider or what our culture is telling us to do is where we determine what's success or what's failure. So we're externally outside measuring, looking, trying to adapt, trying to fit in, which of course has been the role of the child, which is scan, record, and play back, which is, did I get it right? Am I recording it right? So we have these markers that guide us, right? And excuse me, these markers are how we, oh yeah, I graduated from high school. I had a significant relationship. I got a good job. I was able to buy a house. These are these markers in our 3D world that tell us we're okay. And when we have setbacks or the process goes slower than we think, we go into this failure spin, which is just like, wow. Now you're going to see me like swallowing, trying to figure out. I just came off of 2 days of a coughing flu. So this is the first time I've been talking in 2.5 days. So be patient with me if you see me reaching for tissues or water or anything. Okay. Um, Looking around at others is what we learn how to do as children, right? To compare and to watch, compare, and adjust. Oh, they're doing that. I'm gonna start wearing those kind of jeans. They're doing that. Oh, I want to have that kind of car. They're doing that. I want to play that team, right? I want to play that sport. So what we also do is we do this as parents, which is like we read all these milestone books. Like my kid should be sitting up by now. My kid should be eating hot solid foods. My kid should be walking by now. My kid should be talking. How come they're not talking? How come they can't put these pieces together? And so what happens is as parents, as adults, as we go through life, we come up with these external worries, these tests, and these conflicts inside ourselves, right? And we do this to ourselves because the markers of success, whether it's education, job, family, have these pressures like, what if we're off? What if we're wrong? What if we're failing at this? And no one knows, right? These markers are defined by what we are exposed to in our culture and what our culture tells us is normal. So what it's sort of like that this, how do I want to say this? These are all the conditioning pieces that are now being shook and are starting to fall apart, which is these markers, these artificial markers outside in the 3D are starting to unwind, right? And we have our own set of emotions that are going with that. What if I'm failing? What if I'm not a success? What if what I determined to be my worth is no longer? What if I have taken all of this personally and I feel like I failed, right? So the energy right now is sort of pushing on us, and we're watching the external shift away, and we're also at the same time dealing with the internal doubt, the internal voices, the internal overwhelm of, what if I'm wrong? What if I don't know? What if I failed at this whole thing being human? What if I'm behind? What if I'm off the tracks, right? So we hold the outer physical world as something to measure up against. We define ourselves by the people, places, and things. And this this world that we're defining it by is getting weirdly, is, as April said, weirdly bigger right now. Like all of the things, all the markers we used to use, financial security, the ability to pay our bills, the ability to stay in our homes, the ability to have successful children at home, the ability to have a body that is healthy and no symptoms. These are all our markers, and they're all wobbling right now, weirdly, all wobbling at the same time. So, yet our potential and our purpose is to sort of break out of this 3D thing. So we're sort of rising within our potential and our purpose, and we're breaking out of the old, the seeds are going to come up different than we thought from the planting the garden, whatever form that works for you. And we're going to have we're going to shift into different jobs. We're going to have children with different kinds of intelligences. We're going to choose. We're going to have the opportunity to choose and pull a lot more of our passions and our creativity and our skill sets forward, and less, sort of even ability to maintain the mundane in order to pay the bills. So what we're noticing is that we're waiting. We're waiting and we're patient, not so patiently waiting. And, it's kind of time to listen and notice and pay attention and to sort of curb the fears, because all of these sevens are going to tell us that we're in this invisible magical number of seven, which is what is possible hasn't shown itself yet, and you're in the beginning of the doubt phase, right? So the reason I'm focusing on this 3D and these attempts to fit in or adjust or perform is because this dismantling, this changing, this sort of end of our old ways, this collapsing right now is going on, and the markers are dismantling, and it's in the air, and it's happening with the solar flares, it's happening with the geomagnetic, it's happening with our financial institutions, it's happening with our government systems, it's happening even in the ground that is shaking with earthquakes and storms and everything. So I have 6 tips for you, and before I go on to that, this 7 is a mystical number, so what I did was I aligned the 7 tools that I've been using 7 specific tools that I've been using for the last, I don't know, 8, 10 years in coaching, and sort of honed them energetically in alignment with these cards, and in alignment with holding the chariot, which the chariot in Osho Zen looks like this, the chariot in the Thoth deck looks like this. Patiently or allowing something to emerge. So I'm offering a 7 coaching package for 7 weeks. All of the information is on my website. You can get to that from below, and I've been putting posts out on my social media. So, think about it. Between April, first week of April, second week of April, all the way through to the end of May, you have this opportunity to sort of really address where do I get energetically side railed from who I am based on what the 3D world is telling me, and how do I learn to trust that I'm here for a purpose, and let me help you remember that. I have tools that help you remember it, not what I want you to know, but what you need to know. So it's my little blurb for supporting my coaching, because right now I'm really looking for those specific clients. It's been a long, hard, dry January, February, March, and I want to play with this stuff, and I would love it if you contacted me. So, thank you. Moving right along, the 6 tips. If we're in this huge energetic waiting period, and there's pressure and there's confusion and there's doubt, and we're not sure what to do, number 1, create time to sit or to get outside and walk, and to feel your way into this, which is, what are the markers that you've held? How are you feeling right now? What feelings, thoughts, and sensations present themselves to you? And then sort of face them, step right into them and face them and go, wow, I'm feeling this. I'm noticing this. This is what's going on. Because if we don't do an assessment, then we don't really understand what works and what isn't working for us, right? So we want to build our own internal assessment, our own internal information. That's number 1. Number 2, find your center, your grounded self. For me, I create this column. I dig my feet into Gaia. I plant my feet grounded. I extend the column all the way up into the up to source, and I become a very solid vehicle for information, right? So you find your grounded self, and then you notice, where is it easy to hold this? Where is it really hard? Where do I get pulled off of center by thoughts, by emotions, by people, by their expectations, by their needs, and sort of notice where it is, where there's a push or a force, like, I have to give this up because I have to hold on to this. Because that's what we want to know. We want to know, where are you feeling really particularly challenged, right? So the first one is to assess. The second one is to find out where you're getting challenged. Number 3, from your center point, from that grounded space, explore how you construct your concepts, how you define them for yourself, and how you sort of act on the trust that you have in your body. This is where we construct, we define, and we act on, because what we want to know is that when different situations come up, we want to be honest and kind with, oh wow, I've been following this construct, which is, I'm a good coach if, I'm a good wife if, I'm a good mother if, I'm a good friend if, I'm a good parent if. I'm trying to spread it out to as many examples as I can think of for you, right? Because what happens is, these different situations are going to bring up scenarios where we look at, oh, this is my construct, these are the emotions I have, this is where I start to act on my trust or lack of trust. So, for this third one, the bigger picture I would put is, pay attention to the constructs that you bought into. Okay, and notice that they're starting to rattle. Okay, number 4, because the sevens are complex. This isn't going to be an easy little checklist, right? So 4, define what you want. Define what you want to be in this world, because not what your partner, not what your parent, not what your friend or your boss wants you to be, but what you want to be right now, today, this week, this month. Don't get a year or 2 in ahead of time. Just go for right now. Right now, what do I want to be? And what I would share is that I want to collaborate. I want to share. I want to talk with people who are seeing all of this and seeing the same thing and going like, how do we work with this? Because that's what brings my entire energy field open. What brings yours open? What do you want? How do you start to materialize that concept of who I am and what I want into this 3D so that while the 3D is dismantling, while the chaos is going on out there, you're going, oh, wow. No, 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 no. This is the most important thing to me. This is what I know myself to be right now. Okay. So, number four is discover what you want based on your own self knowledge. Discover who you are and what you want. Okay. Number five, access that internal trust. Wow. There's wisdom, there's understanding, there's deepening what you want to be, there's creating it, holding it. There's like taking that little seed and going, I'm watching it, I'm watering it, and I'm trusting that it's going to unfold as I want it to, right? No matter what flails around you, capture that image of what you're birthing, what you want to be, what you want to hold on to, and let go of the fears and anxieties of failure, the overwhelm, the doubt, the wondering, the sense of failure, right? So, number five would be that build trust because trust has to exist in the seven. The seven is a geometric, well, there's no geometric shape for the seven. It is a magical, mystical number. And when we embrace the seven, what we say is, I know who I am, I know what I want, but I'm not sure that the process of getting there is going to be really apparent to anyone else, maybe not even me, but I'm going to trust it. So, trust. And number six, compassion. Man, compassion for yourself, compassion for those around you who've been sort of part of this stress, part of this pressure, part of this force that you're living on, and relax and trust and guide from within from a place of empowerment and a place of compassion. Because the only thing we can hold on to is this anchor. Because as the energy has continued to waft us around, whether it's solar flares, we were up in the X class solar flares last week. We just survived a 14-hour geomagnetic storm last Thursday. Watching how these are impacting us is really profoundly important because it's going to shake all of this. And the first thing we can do is go to, am I failing or am I strong? So this is the kind of stuff that I want to talk more about. So if this has caught your attention, please send me a note. Please consider signing up for a 7-week coaching class. I would love to talk to you. All right. Have a great Sunday. I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.